Post-training notice. National First Class Registered Exorcist. Chapter 99. Snake King. The Corpse Ghost King was 2.4 meters tall, with a powerful build. One hand held Zhi Xiaoduo up by the arm, while the other hand held his weapon as he shouted angrily. All the seals in the palace flew away from the sarcophagi and automatically burned in the air. Then all the corpse ghosts fallen in battle in the 20,000 sarcophagi returned to life. Ha! As soon as the corpse ghost soldiers woke up, they automatically lined up in formation, lifted their halberds, and rushed towards the dowdy. The dowdy was picked up by dozens of halberds and forced out of the hall. Wang lay staggered to his feet and fled the hall. Charge! Roared the corpse ghost king. The soldiers formed ranks and rushed out together. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Are you sure it's here? Zhou Wanyuan asked. That's where that gorilla fled, said Qi Wei. They ran along the long street, only to see a black Apiao with Qi Wei's bag running towards the rectangular palace. Lord, the Apiao ran to Wang Lei. However, Wang Lei ran out of the palace, with the dowdy closely following behind. Zhou Wanyuan shouted, "It's Wang Lei." Qi Wei ran up and swept out with his foot, and the two came face to face. Wang Lei didn't expect Qi Wei to be here, and he hurried to block his blow. Qi Wei's other foot flew up, and he kicked Wang Lei in the chest. Wang Lei was sent flying and hit the dowdy close behind him. They both fell back onto the steps. The dowdy screamed and wanted to run away, but Qi Wei shouted, "Catch Wang Lei. Don't let him run away." With one slap from Zhou Wanyuan, the Apiao flew out in an arc, and she grabbed Qi Lei's bag. Wang Lei's eyes flashed with fear, and he turned to run to the palace. Qi Wei and Zhou Wanyuan quickly crossed the steps and ran towards Wang Lei. At this moment, the main doors opened with a bang. "No!" Wang Lei shouted, "Run!" Qi Wei was stunned, and then the 20,000 corpse ghost soldiers and generals contained in the palace rushed out. Zhou Wanyuan. Qi Wei and Zhou Wanyuan immediately made a sudden stop, drifted apart, turned around, and ran away desperately. The dowdy ran after them, and Wang Lei ran behind the dowdy. The 20,000 corpse ghosts, armed with weapons and heavy armor, ran after the dowdy. That scene was absolutely earth-shaking, and the earth was full of smoke and dust, shaking and rattling bones, and a good half of the sacred land trembled. The great army rolled in behind them as a huge boom came from the street ahead. A huge tortoise turned the corner, made a shocking roar, turned around, and ran towards them. "Fuck!" screamed Zhou Wanyuan. "Qi Wei, it's Xiang Cheng. I see Xiang Cheng." "Wang Lei." "Qi Wei." Xiang Cheng said in disbelief. The Xian turtle ran over the long street like an avalanche and collided with the army. The scene was a complete mess, and Xiao Ben reached out to lift Qi Wei and throw him onto the turtle's back. Zhou Wanyuan shouted, "Don't forget about me, ah! Take your high heels off!" Xiang Cheng roared. Zhou Wanyuan clenched her teeth to catch up and jumped on the back of the turtle. The Xian turtle crashed mightily into the army of corpse ghosts, and long halberds and sharp arrows rained down from all around them. Xiao Ben shouted, "Get down!" All the people rolled and hid beneath the shell of the turtle. The Xian turtle was stabbed in one leg, and was immediately in pain while struggling desperately. "What exactly happened here?" Xiao Ben shouted. "I don't know." Qi Wei shouted, "I also just got here." Xiang Cheng hid behind the turtle shell, peeped out, and flew out while the corpse ghosts rushed forward to subdue the Xian turtle. "Xiang Cheng!" The three of them shouted at the same time. "What is he doing?" Zhou Wanyuan demanded. Xiao Ben shouted, "Zhi Xiaoduo is over there." "Qi Wei." Qi Wei chased after him as Xiang Cheng rushed into battle. He jumped up, stepped on the shoulder of a corpse ghost general, grabbed a bronze sword, and flipped over in the air, crossing a distance of 5 meters. The battle suddenly quieted in that spot, and countless halberds moved in for the kill. Xiang Cheng ducked and rolled as soon as he landed, and he dragged the sword backwards as he, not willing to engage in battle at all, ran straight towards the palace. Among the thousands of soldiers, Xiang Cheng pinpointed a soldier on the edge, armed with a shield. He threw the Yao binding rope, wrapping the other end around his wrist, and he grabbed the shield with his left hand, holding the sword in his right hand. He rushed up the steps and entered the palace. The corpse ghost king held Zhi Xiaoduo up and looked at him suspiciously. Zhi Xiaoduo said while trembling, "Haven't you forgotten to say something?" "What?" the corpse ghost king asked. Zhi Xiaoduo pointed at himself and said, "I was the one who released you. You should at least say something like thank you, right?" The corpse ghost king said coldly, "What kind of Yao are you? Why did you trespass in my palace?" I. Zhi Xiaoduo said, "This lowly one is a very common mola fish from the South Vietnam Sea." "Mola fish?" asked the corpse ghost king. Zhi Xiaoduo couldn't move at all, so he had to distract him with talk as he wondered how to escape. The ring on his left ring finger was getting hotter and hotter, so he knew that Xiang Cheng was getting closer, and he had to stall for time. It was better to fall into the hands of this monster than to be caught by Wang Lei and Dinghai. "Let him go." Xiang Cheng's voice echoed through the palace. Zhi Xiaoduo was pleasantly surprised. Xiang Cheng was here. He turned his head and saw that Xiang Cheng could not stop panting. He was leaning on a sword in one hand, holding a shield in the other. His body was covered with blood, and he seemed to have been wounded by some weapons. Xiang Cheng's forehead was covered in sweat, and he panted as he held the sword. He raised his hand and signaled for Zhi Xiaoduo not to speak, letting him handle it. "Who has come? Report your name." The voice of the corpse ghost king was loud and reverberated in the hall. "Xiang Cheng." Xiang Cheng said. "Why are you here?" "My man was taken away." Xiang Cheng said. "What is your identity?" the corpse ghost king asked. Xiang Cheng took a deep breath and uttered one word. "Human." Zhi Xiaoduo was about to say that Xiang Cheng was the boss snake. "Great king, you can't do this. Everyone here is a great king and you may be of lower rank than the others. Can't you let us have a cup of tea and talk about first? How do you feel about being sealed away underground for 1,000 years? Xiang Cheng suddenly asked. The corpse ghost king held Zhi Xiaoduo up and set him to the side. Xiang Cheng shook his bronze sword and said, "I'm willing to help you warm up those muscles and bones. If I win by some stroke of luck, let the person beside you go." "That suits me very well," said the corpse ghost king coldly. He loosened his hand, and Zhi Xiaoduo fell to one side. "If you can touch my helmet," the corpse ghost king sneered, "I will give him back. You can leave by yourself." Xiang Cheng looked at Zhi Xiaoduo. Zhi Xiaoduo read what he was trying to convey in his eye. "Be calm, don't worry." Then, the corpse ghost king slammed his spear into the ground, and the 20,000 sarcophagi in the palace flew up at the same time, dispersed with a crash, and scattered endlessly. With the sound of stone grinding, the stone slabs were all arranged into walls and backed into both sides of the palace. The corpse ghost king waved his halberd and dropped down countless weapons from thin air with a crash. Xiang Cheng threw away the sword, took off his coat, and, shirtless, picked out a copper staff that went all the way up to his brow, holding it in his hands. The corpse ghost king roared, and the soldiers outside withdrew in a flood. All of them poured into the palace and surrounded the arena. Outside the palace, the Xian turtle dragged its injured body along as it staggered away. The huge street was empty, leaving Chao Ben, Qi Wei, and Zhou Wanyuan there. Chao Ben took the lead in running towards the palace, and the two others followed closely. In the martial arts arena in the hall, Xiang Cheng walked slowly with his staff on his back. The corpse ghost king walked in with a long halberd and spears. Zhi Xiaoduo's eyes went wide. He didn't know what guaranteed method of winning Xiang Cheng had in mind. He heard the two of them roar at the same time, and Xiang Cheng rushed forward like a whirlwind. Xiang Cheng held the staff in his hands and swept it forward. The corpse ghost king's long halberd stabbed out, so quickly that Zhi Xiaoduo felt that his eyes were blurring. In the space of a breath, the ghost king shook his long halberd, and like a squalling wild storm, stabbed forward more than 10 times. However, Xiang Cheng leaped up, borrowing the momentum of pushing the staff against the ground. He wove between the halberd stabs and dodged. The two people shouted again, and with a dang, the staff and spear collided, letting out a loud crash, which made Zhi Xiaoduo's eardrums ache. "Come on! Come on!" Zhi Xiaoduo shouted in his heart. Xiang Cheng's hands trembled, and the ghost king sneered. Then he turned around and swung his halberd. Xiang Cheng flipped back and swept out his long legs. He hit the ground with his staff, and then borrowing the gust of wind, one staff turned into 100, and he took the initiative to start fighting back. The corpse ghost king was huge and bulky, and his movements were a little sluggish, while Xiang Cheng's speed was getting faster and faster. When the two were trading blows again and again, the ghost king used a ground-splitting strike, the head of the halberd sketching out an arc from the top of his head as it struck down heavily towards the ground. At that moment, Xiang Cheng pulled out his staff while taking half a step back. He kicked off his right foot, stepped on the shaft of the spear at the moment it swung out, jumped on the arm of the ghost king, and then rolled over its shoulder, with both his feet hanging around the neck of the ghost king. "Ha!" Xiang Cheng roared, and his voice reverberated in the sacred land. His voice was so loud that Zhi Xiaoduo's ears buzzed, and at that moment, it seemed that behind Xiang Cheng there appeared the green-blue body of the boss snake, wrapped around the corpse ghost king. When Xiao Ben rushed into the hall, he suddenly heard Xiang Cheng's shout. "Zhi Xiaoduo!" Then, Xiang Cheng twisted his feet around the neck of the ghost king. The ghost king suddenly turned his head and slammed his hand at Xiang Cheng's ankle. However, Xiang Cheng's moves changed again, and as his body fell, his whole weight of his was concentrated on his legs. A beautiful fishing for the moon with a golden hook came into play. The huge body of the ghost king was lifted off the ground by Xiang Cheng's twisting force, like he was being thrown over his shoulder. He drew an arc in the air and fell to the huge sarcophagus in the center of the hall. There was a loud crash, accompanied by a light clang, and the ghost king and Xiang Cheng landed at the same time. The place where the ghost king landed was in front of the sarcophagus of the throne 5 meters away, but the place where Xiang Cheng had landed was in the hall. He raised his foot and stepped on the helmet that had just crashed down at his feet, and the ghost king rolled over on the ground. "I'm taking my man away." Xiang Cheng replied, "Apologies for offending you." Zhi Xiaoduo shouted and rushed towards Xiang Cheng, leaping into his arms. However, Xiang Cheng's whole body came bearing down, his shoulders and arms were trembling. Zhi Xiaoduo put his arms on his shoulder, faced the ghost king, and retreated slowly. The ghost king put a hand on the ground and stood up slowly. "Wait." The ghost king said, "Is that you?" "It's not me." Xiang Cheng replied, "You have the wrong person." "It's you." The ghost king said slowly. "I wouldn't get it wrong, the snake of Ba Mountain. You came back to life." Zhi Xiaoduo looked at Xiang Cheng and then at the ghost king. The ghost king walked slowly down the steps, and a crowd stood behind Xiang Cheng, watching him nervously. The face of the corpse ghost king was indigo, his body was not rotted away at all, and he wore a suit of armor from the Qin dynasty. Then, the corpse ghost king made a move that no one expected. He picked up his helmet, put it on, put one hand on his left shoulder, and bowed to Xiang Cheng. "Zhi Xiaoduo." Xiang Cheng breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing that he was a friend rather than an enemy now, he let go, and the staff clanged to the ground. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Outside the mountain. At noon, a red light circled around the sky, like a tsunami, spreading through the whole Mount Wu area. The blood fog dispersed silently, and the trees withered in succession. Zhou Moqiu led hundreds of exorcists to scatter into the mountains and forests. The mountains were surrounded by countless Yao and devils, like a great black sea. Zhou Moqiu, said a gloomy voice. Master Ding, said Zhou Moqiu's rich voice said in reply, a pleasure to meet you. The mountain forest had transformed into a huge blood-colored rug. The trees swayed and fell towards the middle, creating a face that covered several miles, and it opened its mouth. Make way. The blood mist was steaming, converging in the air, coming together, forming a ferocious head 10 stories high, and roaring, biting off more than you can chew, you invite your own destruction. The mountain Yao and devils roared in unison. Zhou Moqiu held a ball of light, which rose slowly into the air. Rise. Zhou Moqiu called animatedly. The halo spread with a buzzing sound, forming a shock wave covering an area of 100 miles around. Zhou Moqiu turned into a body of light and rose into the sky. When he opened his eyes, numerous luminous tentacles burst out from the map of mountains and rivers, twining around Zhou Moqiu and connecting to his 5 fingers. The blood devil hissed, stretched out its hands from the ground, and grabbed Zhou Moqiu with its claws. Zhou Moqiu withdrew his hands, and the shining silk thread scattered into thousands of strands and disappeared into the sky, the earth, and the mountains and rivers. At that moment, the whole land began to boil. Zhou Moqiu raised his left hand, turned his right hand around, pulled up a mountain in the distance, and threw it at the blood demon. The blood demon turned into a thick red fog and flew away, and turned into 1,000 bloody parts in the sky, floating to Zhou Moqiu from the mid-air. All the Yaoguai on the mountain began to attack the mountainside. The exorcists behind Zhou Moqiu finished casting their spell and let out their magic. Lightning rushed against the mountain like a tide to block the Yaoguai. Countless blood devils rushed towards the ground. Zhou Moqiu spread out his fingers, and with a push of his palms, a wild wind lifted up the sand to form hundreds of tornadoes that sucked up the soil and rocks, uprooted trees, and roared towards the blood devils. The clouds in the sky opened, and with the roar of the blood devil, fiery meteors shot to the ground in one wave after another. Zhou Moqiu immediately clenched his hands, and the clouds in the sky were pulled over towards them. Then he put his palms together and turned them outward, and the sea of clouds formed a solid wall of silver flashing light. The meteors hit the wall, letting out an earth-shattering crash, before splintering into pieces. Zhou Moqiu pulled a thread, and the river turned into a roaring water hose that rushed towards the blood devil, immediately turning red by the red blood fog. More and more Yao and devils appeared, and the exorcists could already hardly resist the wild Yaoguai. Zhou Moqiu roared, "We must keep it up." The blood devil said with a ferocious laugh, "Time is running out. It's better to leave now." Just as he said that, the blood devil appeared in the air in the form of a giant. There was a hole in its chest, and inside it there was another face letting out black energy. The black energy spewed out and spread to the mountains and forests. The devil chi spread rapidly against the controlling lines of the map of mountains and rivers, and rushed to the ball of light in front of Zhou Moqiu. In an instant, the ball of light was corrupted. Like an eclipse, the center was dark, and only the outermost layer glittered with golden light. Zhou Moqiu was surrounded by the devil chi, and he cried out in pain. The blood devil let out a ferocious and strange smile. Zhou Moqiu could not stop shaking, but he gritted his teeth and kept going. All living things will be born and die, the yin and yang cycle again, break. Zhou Moqiu roared. All the power gathered up and shot back with that one move. With the spread of that eye-searing light, the tens of thousands of beast Yao in the Ba mountain region were all lifted up and scattered in an instant. They were sealed in a blue light, like floating glass bubbles hovering in the air, with circling runes flashing on the surface of each. That bright light gathered towards the body of the blood devil and was also about to seal it. However, the blood devil's cultivation was too strong, and it struggled non-stop. The blue light gathered and sealed it in a huge ball of light. Jomokuo had already tried his best, but the blood devil attacked the barrier madly. The world was so quiet that even the drop of a needle could be heard. All the Yaogwai, even the blood devil, were sealed by the birth and death of all things spell put forth by Jomokuo. However, the seal merely lasted 3 short seconds, before the biggest bubble that imprisoned the blood devil was smashed, and the runes were destroyed. Tens of thousands of tendrils of black energy burst out from the blood devil's chest, and at the same time, the Yaogwai in the bubble seemed to react to that. The seeds of Mara in their body were connected by the black energy and immediately pulled back to the blood devil. Jomokuo vomited out a mouthful of blood. The blood devil said with a hideous laugh, really too arrogant and conceited. As it said that, the blood devil pulled all the Yao and devils back. The captured Yaogwai screamed before they died. Their blood burst out, gathered into a sea of blood, then fused into a towering blood giant, which punched Jomokuo. In the hall of the corpse ghosts who had fallen in battle. Another loud noise seemed to come from outside the cave. Zhiziatuo looked up, full of worry. "Sit down," said the corpse ghost king. "Now that you have come back home, let us have a brief chat." Everyone looked at each other, and Xiang Chen looked at his companions behind him, indicating that everyone should not worry and just do it. Exhausted, Xiang Chen took the lead in sitting down with his knees crossed. The corpse ghosts scattered around him, left the palace and scattered into the nearby area. Xiang Chen said to the ghost king, "The snake Han is only left in my memory, and I am no longer able to recall the past." The corpse ghost king sat on the steps and said to Xiang Chen, "There are 4 great Yao of the sacred land." The ghost king said slowly, "Under Mara, the 4 great Yaogwai left Mara seeds in us in order to protect Mara. They are the yin and yang fox, the kun Yao, the black-winged great peng." Zhiziatuo said in a trembling voice, "And you?" The ghost king nodded and said, "Child, you also know." Zhiziatuo and Xiang Chen looked at each other and thought of the Yaogwai encyclopedia that Zheng Yu gave him. The last few pages were all of the big Yaogwai. "What era is it now?" asked the ghost king. "The People's Republic of China," Xiang Chen replied. The ghost king asked, "What about the last dynasty?" "The Republic of China and the Qing dynasty." Zhiziatuo remembered that the sacred land had been sealed for 1,000 years, and thought it was probably necessary to trace back to 1,000 years ago. "When I was alive, the reigning emperor was the first emperor." The ghost king said, "After dying, Mara ordered me to guard the sacred land, and then I went through the Han, Wei, Jin, the 16 kingdoms of the 5 Hu, Tang, the separatist regime of the 3 kingdoms. During the Song dynasty." The crowd held their breath and listened to the explanation of the corpse ghost king. A Han man issued a command to summon the Khitan people from the 16 states of Yanyuan, the Grey Wolf and White Deer families, from the Dali kingdom of the Yunnan province, the Qi family of Guangnan East Road in the south, Suchain's burning lamp disciples of the Chen family, and another family, which was not recorded. These 6 aristocratic families gathered exorcists to invade the sacred land. The dead Kun was born in the sea, and 4,000 years ago, it was brought here by the Lord. The seed of Mara's control over it was very weak, and it was the first to break away from the Lord's control and fled. The yin and yang foxes died, and 2 young foxes were taken away and followed the Lord to find another place to stay. The black-winged great peng fled to the central plains. When it left Mount Wu, I saw the golden-winged great peng coming. I expect that the black-winged great peng's 1,000 years of cultivation would be destroyed overnight and would not be reborn. Have you heard any news about it? It? Er. Zhiziatuo said, "Do you have a good relationship with it?" The corpse ghost king said, "Beast Yao and Fish Yao are all filthy. I was originally a human, so I naturally disdain to be with them." Zhiziatuo replied, "Later it was put under Fumen Temple, and its magical power became very weak, leaving only a Yao body." Wu, said the corpse ghost king, remember not to let it out. That fellow is vicious and cruel, and it will even kill people of its own tribe. Xiang Cheng glanced at Zhi Ziaduo. Zhi Ziaduo thought that it didn't matter how viciously cruel the pen was now, since it had already been killed by them. Unexpectedly, the boss snake has now reincarnated and found its way here. I didn't come back to revive the sacred land, Xiang Cheng replied. What does this have to do with revitalizing it? The corpse ghost king asked. 8,000 years have passed and the wheel of reincarnation has turned, but that is just a long sigh in the river of time. The world is common and bustling, and the great cause of the first emperor in the past has come to nothing with a snap of the fingers. Zhi Ziaduo couldn't help feeling moved. Xiang Cheng was silent for a long time and also sighed. If you didn't come here for the sacred land, then leave. The corpse ghost king replied, 8,000 years ago, Akalanthala defeated me once. I was completely convinced and pledged an oath to preserve the sacred land. I completely sealed this place off, connected it with the earth veins, and forbade humans from coming in again. Wait. Xiang Cheng said, I need to find another thing. Zhi Ziaduo remembered the bridge and said, can you take us to the central temple? What are you two going to do? The corpse ghost king looked down at them. I suspect that the sacred land has my family's heirloom, the golden arrows. Xiang Cheng said, we want to take the way to the temple. Come with me. The corpse ghost king got up. As if everyone had agreed on a truce, they got up one after another. The corpse ghost king led the way, and everyone went to the rear of the hall. Hey! Zhou Wanyuan found Xian Hezi behind the pillar and said, isn't this Xian Hezi? Zhi Ziaduo. Xian Hezi lay on the ground and moaned. Everyone. Ahaha. Zhi Ziaduo realized that he had actually forgotten about Xian Hezi and felt really sorry for him, so he explained to everyone, just now, Xian Hezi was hurt by the Daodi while protecting me. I just put medicine on him, let him have a rest in the back. I forgot to tell you guys. You. Xian Hezi said on his deathbed, I'll remember you, Zhi Ziaduo, that in your eyes, I'm nothing but a redundant person. Don't talk. Zhi Ziaduo said sincerely, your injury isn't healed yet, so don't thrash around. After inspecting Xian Hezi's injury, Qi Wei said, his life is not in danger but it is better to send him out as soon as possible. After everyone discussed it, Qiao Ben took the initiative to say, I'll take him out. You can leave through the underground water along the river outside the sacred land, Xiang Cheng said. That's the way my father used to take. Qiao Ben nodded, and Zhi Ziaduo asked the corpse ghost king for a boat. The ghost king ordered his subordinates to do it. When Qiao Ben left, Xiang Cheng threw him an hourglass and said, by the way, help me return this to Zhou Mokuo. Qiao Ben took it and left. They followed the ghost king from the steps behind the palace to the roof of the palace. In the moat outside the sacred land, Qiao Ben took Xian Hezi aboard a boat, and the runes at the stern of the boat lit up, pushing them along towards the exit of the underground river. Qiao Ben lit a torch and left the sacred land area. Xian Hezi's color was already returning a little. Qiao Ben held Xian Hezi's Tang Dao in one hand and lit up the cave with the torch in the other. He looked back at Xian Hezi with hesitation in his eyes. Xian Hezi said, no matter what's going on inside, is there no problem with sending me out? Qiao Ben did not answer, playing with Xian Hezi's Tang Dao. I have a question to ask you. Xian Hezi breathed heavily, holding a seed in his hand. Say it, Qiao Ben said coldly. Xian Hezi said, why do you hate Dinghai so much? Qiao Ben still didn't answer, but his eyes showed hesitation. I set him free by my own will, Qiao Ben said. I must deal with him personally. Oh. Xian Hezi struggled to talk. How did you let him out? Qiao Ben did not answer. Xian Hezi said, could it be that Dinghai also turned into you? But a Daodi, can only take on another person's appearance, if they eat them. If Chao Ben was eaten, who are you? Chao Ben's hand shook slightly, watching the dark water flow. Having come this far, the cave was calm. I don't know, but I also have a question to ask you, Chao Ben said solemnly. You, ask. Xian Hezi tried to squeeze out a smile. When Xiang Cheng and Zhi Ziaduo left the cruise ship, Chao Ben said slowly, the person who reported to the special operation team was not Kita, Chen Zhen, Zhou Wanyuan, or Qi Wei. Who do you think that person was? I also don't know. Xian Hezi opened his hand and smiled with that seed in his palm. Ha, do you want to kill me? Chao Ben took a deep breath, but at this moment, the ship shook violently. What's that below? Xian Hezi looked out with his hands on the side of the ship. A huge animal appeared below the water, but it didn't seem to be opposed to them at all. The black shiny back arched up and touched the boat gently. This splashed Chao Ben and Xian Hezi, completely drenching them. Chao Ben shone a flashlight at the bottom of the lake, but the water monster had disappeared. The sacred land had become bustling and lively. It was no longer like when they had first arrived. At the top of the cave, a beam of sunlight shone down from the sky and illuminated the central temple. So beautiful, said Zhi Ziaduo. He knew that his companions might also think so, but no one said it out loud. A group of eagles hovered over the tower, and the water creatures had gathered in the huge pool that had already dried up. Thousands of beasts in the distance were neatly in order, crouched in the circular square. Xiang Cheng, what are they waiting for? You know in your heart what they are waiting for, the corpse ghost king said. It's just that no matter how long they wait, the people of the sacred land will never see it arrive. The two Xian turtles found that there was no water in the dry pool. They looked up, and roared in disappointment. The Kunyao has already left, said the corpse ghost king, the yin-yang fox's whereabouts are unknown, the black-winged great peng has lost all its cultivation, and I was sunken in sleep in the sacred land. The glory of the Yao tribes is doomed to never return. The corpse ghost king said, go to the temple, don't stop. I will show you the way, go. The corpse ghost king had a halberd in his left hand, and a shield in his right. The edge of the shield dragged cleanly against the halberd, producing a clear sound that shook the sacred land. It reverberated in the cave, and the buzzing sound continued, making the ears produce a strong ringing sound. Stalactites rose one after another, crashing along, closely fitting together, forming a mid-air corridor that led to the wall. The wall runes on the periphery of the temple rotated, glowing strongly, and then a hole opened up. At that moment, all the beasts roared, and everyone saw the top of the temple. Under the sunlight, it seemed as if a huge white soul had risen. Xiang Cheng ran to the central temple with his companions. In the circular square, the nine-tailed fox and Kita looked back simultaneously. They are already close to the center of the temple, said the nine-tailed fox. Quickly. Now. Wait. Kita shouted. The nine-tailed fox flew down like an arrow from a bowstring. Kita let out a cry, hurried down the stairs, and rushed to the edge of the beast formation. Come on, all of you come at me. Kita shouted. 20,000 animals were silent and looked up. The nine-tailed fox. In the next second, the beasts all roared in unison, and engulfed Kita like a tsunami. End chapter. Post-training notice. National First Class Registered Exorcist. Chapter 100. The Goddess. At the outskirts of the mountains. The exorcists had been thrown far, far away by that huge force, and then tens of thousands of blood arrows flew at the exorcists who were in the air. Everyone who got shot was completely paralyzed and fell into the dense forest. Joe Mokuo, with blood at the corners of his mouth, was sent flying with a punch. The map of the mountains and rivers rolled into the trees, and he fell into a canyon. The giant ignored him and walked up towards the mountainside. It lifted one hand to open up the mountain, preparing to split Ba mountain into two. However, at the next moment, a force resisted its blood palm. Countless black lines of devil magic spread from the blood devil's body to control the giant formed by the monster's blood and flesh. Jomokuo leaned back against the cliff, gasping for breath. He closed his eyes and put his hands together, forming a seal. In an instant, tens of thousands of bells glowing with golden light appeared in the air around the whole mountain. The blood devil screamed hard as the giant's whole body trembled. Jomokuo's fingers parted while his lips moved slightly as he silently recited a spell. The first bell rang, turned into sound waves, and rushed towards the giant. Jomokuo recited the spell faster and faster. The tens of thousands of hanging bells rang one by one, and the blood devil roared and gripped its head, as if it could not bear the sound of the bells. The blood devil lost control of the blood giant, and chunks of meat began to fall from its body, spraying blood everywhere and corroding the forest. Jomokuo put his hands together, and tens of millions of bells fell silent at the same time. There was no sound at all, only his own breath could be heard between the heavens and the earth. A golden light shone on the heavens and earth, and the giant of flesh and blood exploded. The blood devil could not stop shaking in the golden light, and his body turned into a red fog and flew away. He bitterly held onto his form with the help of the Mara in his chest. "You, today, will," Jomokuo said, "even if I pay with my life, you will." Jomokuo took a deep breath, and his whole body glowed with strong light. His meridians, from his shoulder on down his arm, began to burn. Just as he was about to make the 10,000 bells ring again, a flash of lightning rushed along the ground and through the mountains and forests, striking and paralyzing him. After a whole 3 seconds, Jomokuo rolled down the slope and fell on the crown of a tree. The wailing voice of the blood devil gradually quieted, and the fog turned into a revolving meteor again, converging towards the ground, where it finally gathered into a bloody humanoid monster. It struggled to climb, drawing all the devil chi to it in order to transform into a human figure. A trail of blood dragged behind it, as it climbed up the mountain with a ferocious smile on its mouth. The blood devil landed under the tree, and its arm turned into a huge claw. He grabbed Jomokuo in his claw and walked towards the top of the mountain. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. In the sacred land, Xiang Chen walked quickly into the central temple, and Zhi Xiaoduo immediately let out an ah. As they stood in the midst of the temple, everyone immediately felt their own insignificance. It was not noticeable from far away, but once they got close, they found that the 30-meter-high building was really too big. How was this built? Qi Wei asked in disbelief. It's here. Xiang Cheng said to Zhi Xiaoduo, I've been here before. Zhi Xiaoduo looked up and found that there were areas on both sides of the temple that looked just like the living areas inside the sacred land, but these areas were empty, with nothing in them. There was a huge rune on the top of the temple, reflecting the sunlight falling from the sky on the top of the cave, gleaming with a faint purple-black color. Xiang Cheng stepped up, and Zhi Xiaoduo asked, Did you go in before? Xiang Cheng nodded to Zhi Xiaoduo with a bit of confusion in his eyes. As he approached the door of the temple, the door let out a scraping sound and slowly opened inward. That's... In the deepest part of the temple, a totem supporting the ceiling appeared. That was the sacred land's teleportation totem. Zhi Xiaoduo vaguely understood something: the corpse ghost king, the deceased Kun, the black-winged great Peng, the yin and yang illusory foxes. At the core of the sacred land, on that huge stone totem, was a goddess with her long skirt billowing with the wind. The goddess had her hands clasped in front of her, and her eyes were closed. A huge snake was carved on the stone, winding around the goddess's body, with its head facing the zenith, looking completely lifelike. The goddess of Mount Wu and the boss snake. You finally came. A woman's voice rang out. Who's there? Xiang Cheng turned his head. There was an altar in front of the carving of the goddess with the snake around her, and a beam of light appeared on the altar. A pure white woman appeared in the light. Her whole body glowed like a spirit. Xiang Chen, is that Xiang Chen? Mom. Xiang Chen trembled. There were tears in his eyes. I don't know who you are. The female voice said, I can't see you, but I thought it would be you, Xiang Chen. How is your father? He has already passed away. Xiang Chen's voice was choked. No one dared to come forward, they all held their breaths. Zhi Xiaoduo walked to Xiang Chen's side and gently took his hand as he said, this is a spiritual recording. Xiang Chen calmed down a little, closed his eyes and nodded. He had been too worked up for a moment, but now that Zhi Xiaoduo had laid it bare, he understood. Yes. Xiang Chen said, it's a message she left me. If you are not my son, the female voice said, then whether you are a Yao or a human, after hearing me speak of how things came about, please go to Fengdu and find a person named Xiang Chen. He is the son of the goddess of Mount Wu, Yaoji, and he is the descendant of Akalanatha. Please convey to him what I about to say next. Yaoji. Zhi Xiaoduo was dumbfounded. So that was what Xiang Chen's mom's surname being Yao meant. Xiang Chen looked up and choked out, Mom, I'm here. I have to go right away. Yaoji said sadly. 16 years ago, Mom woke up from the sacred land. I had already forgotten everything about the past. 1,000 years, 2,000 years. I didn't know my own identity then. It was a human called Xiang Jianhua who woke me. After leaving the sacred land, I gradually remembered that the last battle at Ba Mountain happened 1,000 years ago. It was only then that I felt surprised that so much time had passed. Zhi Xiaoduo deduced from the sentence 16 years ago that this recording should have been made the moment when Yaoji fed the Mara seed to the Ba snake in Xiang Chen's body. To make my past clear, I have to go back to 5,000 years ago. Yaoji said, I was called Empress by human beings. But the fact is, I am a natural spirit born from the heavenly veins, and I am neither a Yao nor a human. They called me Heavenly Maiden, and as time passed, I was named Yaoji. Every time that human suffering becomes difficult to purify, in the course of 1,000 years of reincarnation, the heavenly veins and earth veins will deliver the excess resentment and obsession to me and the Ba snake. We will then intertwine, then nurture, and form what we deem as a Mo. My mission was to wake up every 1,000 years, mate with the Ba snake, give birth to Mara's vessel and put the devil seed into Mara's body, so as to breed a new Mara. Yaoji whispered. Xiang Chen, at the end of the last cycle, the power of the Ba snake entered Mom's body, and is at the last stage of incarnation. But it was then that the humans came. When Mom was pregnant with Mara's body, I was shot by a descendant of Akala, Xiang Xian. Akalanatha has the great power to hurt Mara, and caused the Mara I was carrying to be severely damaged, and was not able to contend with the humans. Yaoji said, human beings captured the sacred land, and the nine-tailed celestial fox escaped with Mara. Because the Ba snake had exhausted all its cultivation, its Yao power remained in Mom's body and did not come out. Only the snake's body fought and was finally shot dead by an arrow. They originally wanted to kill Mom, too. One of the exorcists, who was a descendant of Akalanatha, spared me though, and sealed the power of the Ba snake in my body. Then, I slept for more than 900 years. Yaoji opened her eyes wide. Because of this, the sacred land of the Yao clans was completely sealed away under Ba Mountain. Just 17 years ago, a human being stumbled into the sacred land. As I floated in confusion, the seal was lifted. That seal was made by the Akalanathala descendant himself 1,000 years ago. Yaoji continued, and only an Akalanatha descendant could remove the seal. However, when I woke up, I had forgotten everything. When I woke up, I knew nothing and felt that he wanted to kill me. But he could not do it. He finally took me and left the sacred land. He kept everything from me, he never told me my identity. Yes, Yao Ji then said. You guessed right. This man is your father. Xiang Cheng. In the family records of the Xiang family, there is a 1,000-year curse of reincarnation, and that is me. Yao Ji said, back then, Xiang Xian and the other exorcists sealed away the sacred land, and then left this mission to the family. Until it came to your father, that was when the second reincarnation of Mara came, to cut off all of its causes and effects. But unexpectedly, when I forgot everything, Mom and your father fell in love. Yao Ji's voice was calm, carrying a little sadness. Xiang Cheng led Ji Xiaoduo slowly to the altar. Mom gave birth to you. Yao Ji said, the body of the boss snake was dead, and only the third Yao Hun, without any consciousness, was left. On the day I gave birth to you, most of the Ba snake's power was transferred to your body. The snake of Ba Mountain is a spirit of the earth veins. It was born from the earth and cultivated for thousands of years. Because it killed too much and suffered too deeply, it failed to cultivate into a dragon. Finally, it became controlled by resentment and obsession. After some time, Mom had gradually started remembering a bit of the past, and had an idea. The sacred land has already disappeared, and the Yao clans have already declined. It's all gone. My only wish is, to put an end to all of this, to stay with your father forever. Ji Xiaoduo's heartbeat skipped a beat in an instant. I know that there is a strong power passed down in the Akalanatha family. Yao Ji said gently, if you have both the power of the light and the Hun of the Ba snake, maybe it will be possible for you, to shine on the goodness of the world with great courage, and eliminate all pain? Or even cut off the once in a 1,000-year reincarnation of Mara. I wasn't supposed to love human, nor should I have stayed with your father. Saying this, Yao Ji sighed gently. Unfortunately, everything is just my wishful thinking, Yao Ji said. One of the 4 spiritual beasts guarding the sacred land, the descendant of the 9-tailed celestial fox, found me. The yin fox told me that the sacred land is still there and all the Yao still exists, while the power of Mara has gradually dissipated. In order to protect the fate of the Yao clans, I must return to the new sacred land and breed the next Mara. Forgive me. Xiang Cheng. Yao Ji choked, I have to leave you, I have no choice. Mom only wants to be with you and your father. If I don't follow the yin fox, the Yao clans will kill you. The yin fox still remembers the disaster in the sacred land when he was young, and when he took me away, he also stole 2 weapons from your father. Ji Xiaoduo's eyes were red, he gripped Xiang Cheng's hand tightly and looked up at him. Xiang Cheng's tears quivered in his eyes, but they did not fall. After Mom returned to the sacred land, Yao Ji said in a low voice, the Mara seed was planted in my body again. They thought that the Ba snake Hun was still in my body, but Mom lied to them. Yesterday, I brought the seed of Mara back and planted it in your body. I shouldn't have done this. Yao Ji choked. I shouldn't let my son suffer so much. Xiang Cheng, Mom is so sorry. At that time, Mom thought that as you slowly grow up, when you inherit the power of Akala, it may be able to suppress the devil seed, destroy it and make it disappear completely from the world. If you can't hold out though, then the Mara seed will completely consume you, but that is the worst case scenario. But even if Mom doesn't do anything, in the next 13 years, the Yao clans will definitely hunt you, and bring you back to the sacred land and make you become Mara's successor. Mom believes that in 13 years, when the cycle of reincarnation for Mara ends, a new Mara will not be born again. 13 years, as long as we can wait for 13 years. I took a risk that even I don't know what the chances of it succeeding are. Everything will only come to an end after 13 years. After 13 years, Mom will come back to you and Dad. Yao Ji looked up and said in a low voice, but why did you come to the sacred land? Did my attempt fail? If you see this part, Xiang Cheng, have you already become Mara and come back to the sacred land? Have you lost yourself? Is there anyone else beside you? I haven't. Xiang Chen muttered, I haven't. Mom. The blood devil body, is it taking you to the reincarnation ceremony? Yao Ji said, no, it won't be like this. No. But I have no choice. Forgive Mom. Yao Ji replied, come to the altar. Xiang Chen, no matter what the future holds, the sacred land will be given to you. Wait. Said Zhi Ziaduo. What about the golden arrows? Auntie, Mom. Don't stop talking. Don't leave. Xiang Chen. Yao Ji disappeared. Zhi Ziaduo felt that his worldview had been strongly shaken, but this proved a strong assumption. The power of Akalanatha could suppress Mara. They just needed to find the golden arrows. Xiang Chen ran to the altar in 2 steps. There was nothing on the altar. Where would she hide the golden arrows? Zhi Ziaduo asked. I don't know. Xiang Chen said, the last time I came here was when I was 6 years old. Don't be anxious. Zhi Ziaduo said, we are already close to the truth. Several people looked at each other. Zhi Ziaduo motioned for everyone to calm down and said, let's look for them. Everyone began to look for the golden arrows. Although no one had seen the golden arrows before, they all looked for something that was long and skinny. Xiang Chen still hadn't recovered from this blow. He walked around for a few steps, stopped, looked at the totem behind the altar, and remained silent. Zhi Ziaduo also stopped. He walked up to Xiang Chen, took his hand and swayed it back and forth. Xiang Chen hugged Zhi Ziaduo in his arms, and the two embraced quietly for a while. Qi Wei and Zhou Wanyuan could only pretend not to see them as they continued to awkwardly search for the magic weapon. Zhi Ziaduo thought that the complicated past had been heard by Qi Wei and Zhou Wanyuan as well, but they were not blabbermouths and they wouldn't go back and spread it everywhere. Come, Xiang Chen said in a low voice. Xiang Chen and Zhi Ziaduo stood side by side. Then Xiang Chen knelt down. Zhi Ziaduo. Xiang Chen put his hands together, wearing Zhi Ziaduo's ring on his slender ring finger and bowed. Zhi Ziaduo also knelt down and kowtowed to the spirit of Mount Wu with Xiang Chen. Does that count as kowtowing to the heaven and earth? Zhi Ziaduo said after going through this twice. Yes. Xiang Chen replied to Zhi Ziaduo. Such a situation we're in right now, Zhou Wanyuan, holding her waist, came out from behind the totem and said, can't you two do the serious things first? Qi Wei searched the whole temple and said, there's nothing here. Are you sure it's here? Xiang Chen remained silent for a moment and said, if it's not here, then forget it. What do you mean if it's not here then forget it? Said Zhou Wanyuan. I nearly died hurrying here and for what? Hush. Qi Wei hurriedly gestured to Zhou Wanyuan and pointed to the totem, meaning don't swear in front of other people's mothers, or be careful that you'll be taken care of. Zhou Wanyuan had to keep silent. ******. On the other side of the sacred land. Kita kicked a wolf flying. With a whine, a wolfhound rushed in, and was sent flying with a punch by Kita. It's me. Lang Dog cried. Kita. Lang Dog pounced and pushed Kita into running towards the wall. Kita had to protect himself, but was also afraid of Fengli being discovered. His clothes were completely torn, and his whole body was covered with wounds. Kita roared, shit, I've got to get a rabies vaccine when we get back. Goddamn. Kita was completely exhausted, and punched the oncoming bear Yao with one fist, throwing it into a large group of beasts. The nine-tailed fox ran through most of the array along the yin and yang separation lines. Wherever it passed, the runes in the depths of the array rose into the air, and they glowed before seeping into its body. As it could see the end growing closer, the nine-tailed fox turned its head, saw that Kita had already been swallowed by the pack of beasts, and immediately stopped. *****. In the temple. Xiang Chang, the third kowtow. Xiang Cheng and Zhi Ziaduo kowtowed for the third time. Just as they did this for the third time, there was a slight vibration in the temple. The four people were all simultaneously surprised, and a strange rune appeared on the altar. What is this? Zhi Ziaduo got up and asked doubtfully. Is it the golden arrows? Qi Wei asked. It looks like some kind of mechanism, said Zhou Wanyuan. There should be instructions or something, ba. Zhi Ziaduo said, let's find the instructions first. The four people gathered around the altar to study it. Xiang Cheng looked at his own hands, looked puzzled, then pressed down. Suddenly, the altar emitted a strong purple light. The bright light was everywhere, and the sacred land began to shake. All the Yao outside cried out at the same time, and a loud crash sounded from the top of the cave. A sliver of sky appeared, and the sacred land burst out with bright light. The Yao power circled rapidly around the city and through all the ravines, turning the entirety of the sacred land into a huge runic array. A powerful force in the depths of the earth lifted up the sacred land, making it rise up slowly, leaving the mountain. It glimmered among the silent peaks. A blue halo began to spread from the altar, and the magic nullification field was lifted. A green light flashed in Zhi Ziaduo's dragon pupil. Ah! This is... At the palace of the beast Yao. Blue light suddenly burst out from the beasts pressing down on Kita, before exploding outwards, sending a large number of Yaoguai into the air. The grey wolf roared up at the sky, and all the beasts were shocked and stepped back. The grey wolf clawed at the ground, angrily rushed forward, and barged headfirst into the Yao group. At the same time, Fengli shook out his 9 tails and rushed to the end. The energy flow in the sacred land ran through the entire gully and gathered in Fengli's body. The 9-tailed celestial fox's whole body was radiant, and it shook out 9 huge tails in the wind like a screen unfurling. Fengli stretched out his arms and transformed back into human form. The grey wolf, covered in blood, staggered and fell to the ground. All the Yao beasts turned to the 9-tailed celestial fox, and Fengli made a gesture. All the Yao beasts lowered their heads. The 9-tailed celestial fox landed on the ground and transformed into its gigantic form. It walked with fox steps and headed towards the grey wolf on the ground. Saliva dribbled from the corners of the grey wolf's mouth, and its limbs could not stop twitching because of the strength it had used up. The 9-tailed celestial fox lowered its head, spit out its neodon and went around the grey wolf's body. The grey wolf's body glowed with a brilliant light. The 9-tailed celestial fox took back the neodon and transformed back into a human. He looked up at the center of the temple in the distance. Outside the mountains, Jinghao could not help sobbing and shaking his head violently, his face covered in blood. "You trash," the blood devil said grimly. The Daodi trembled, and the blood devil sent Zhou Mokuo from his claws to the Daodi's mouth. The Daodi opened its mouth and swallowed Zhou Mokuo. The blood devil said coldly, "Follow me." ******. In the temple. There are still no golden arrows. Zhi Ziaduo said. "Crap, the sacred land has emerged," replied Qi Wei. The light of the sunset came from the end of the mountain and covered the sacred land. Zhou Wanyuan ran out of the hall and asked, "Where is my father?" The mountains and the forest were a complete mess. The Yao that was there had all retreated already, and the blood devil had disappeared. The exorcists had all evacuated cleanly. "How do we clean this up now?" Qi Wei turned around and asked. Xiang Cheng didn't know what to do either. Seeing the Yaoguai outside, he said, "I need to protect this place." "But this time we caused such a ruckus," Qi Wei said. "The exorcist committee definitely won't let you guys go. You guys go back, ba." Xiang Cheng said, "You have helped me so much this entire way, I am sincerely full of gratitude. I have to go down to find my father," said Zhou Wanyuan. Suddenly, there was a loud roar from Zhi Ziaduo behind the hall. "Be careful!" Xiang Cheng leaped forward and turned into the boss snake. The snake twisted, and the dowdy rushed in behind him, only to be entangled by the boss snake's body. Qi Wei turned pale and was about to summon a dragon, but Wang Lei came in from the side and kicked him. He fell to the ground. Zhou Wanyuan changed into the white deer, with her antlers pointing at Wang Lei, sending him flying. Zhi Xiaoduo rushed out of the temple, and the platform became the battleground of two ancient monsters, the dowdy and the boss snake. The dowdy roared, and its body vanished as it changed into a monster with only one big mouth, lunging towards the boss snake. However, the boss snake was more powerful than the dowdy. It suddenly opened its mouth to the largest extent, and actually bit through the upper and lower lips of the dowdy. The mouth of the dowdy was bitten closed, and it struggled fiercely. The boss snake bit it and tossed it away, sending the dowdy flying. Qi Wei and Zhou Wanyuan shot at the dowdy from left and right, but a bloody fog rushed from the bottom of the mountain and spread out, filling the temple with blood. Zhi Xiaoduo couldn't help coughing, and he tried to escape from the bloody fog. Qi Wei was immediately poisoned and coughed up blood loudly. The white deer was completely corroded by the stain of blood, and the boss snake tightened its scales to resist the blood demon. It opened its mouth and roared, emitting a green poison fog. In a flash, the nine-tailed fox, carrying Kita, rushed forward, and Kita jumped up. The nine-tailed fox turned into a flying beast with wings flapping wildly, and with a hurricane-like twist, Kita turned into the grey wolf and rushed at the dowdy. Now! Feng Li shouted. The boss snake vanished and turned into a human figure. Then, golden light glowed, and the true form of Akalanatha appeared. The black energy spread rapidly, and Xiang Cheng's face was covered with devil marks. He suddenly opened his eyes, held the sword of wisdom, shouted, and went after the dowdy with the sword. "I've been waiting for you for too long," said the voice of the blood devil creepily in the mist. The bloody fog exploded and sent everyone flying. Xiang Cheng's sword ran through the dowdy's face and the top of Jing Hao's head. However, Jing Hao's fragmented face turned into a huge mouth, and before Xiang Cheng could get away, he was swallowed up. Xiang Cheng! Zhi Xiaoduo rushed out from the other side, grabbed Xiang Cheng's waist, and pushed him away. At the same time, a powerful suction force burst out of the dowdy's mouth, and pulled Zhi Xiaoduo into his mouth. The two of them exchanged a last look. The boss snake let out a powerful roar of anger and rushed into the belly of the dowdy. The sacred land suddenly became quiet. The dowdy looked up, opened its mouth, and seemed to try to roar, but could not make a sound. It couldn't stop shaking, convulsing, with black energy spreading out everywhere. All the faces on its body screamed and collapsed into the body. Then, the blood devil took form on the steps of the temple, raised his hand, and black energy wrapped up the dowdy, which was pulled into the hall and transformed into a huge ball of blood. The ball for a moment showed the faces of tens of thousands of Yaoguai struggling in pain, before a human face appeared crying, suspended on the altar. The corpse ghost king walked out of the palace and stood in front of the temple. The blood devil pointed at the devil Qi with the long stick in his hand, and devil Qi covered the huge bright red ball. The ball regularly pulsed, sending out a powerful deterring presence. The nine-tailed fox entered the hall, its whole body inadvertently shaking. It wanted to fight, but it couldn't even take another step forward. Qi Wei, Kita, and Zhou Wanyuan rushed into the hall, and the devil heart shot a bloody arrow at them. The three of them were almost unable to fight back, so they were pushed by the force and fell to the ground. Wang Lei walked in slowly and knelt down on one knee towards the enchanted heart. "Feng Li," the blood devil glanced at the nine-tailed fox, "your sin of betraying the sacred land will be discussed another day. The boss snake and the Mara seed have been ingested into the body of the dowdy and turned into a ball of primordial chaos. The deceased Kun has also returned, the great black-winged Peng is in the ball, and the yin-yang illusory fox and the corpse ghost king will follow my orders. We may begin the Mara reincarnation ceremony right now. End chapter.